Dear friends, I want to welcome you to the University of Cyprus. Today we will be discussing a very important issue. It is the living conditions of refugees and asylum seekers in Cyprus. We have the honor to have with us representatives of the Ministry of Interior, of the Ministry of Work, and a representative of the UNHCR. And also, last but not least, very important for us, is to have two of our students who are refugees themselves and will have the chance to give their own perspective on the topic that we will be discussing today. I want to first ask our rector, Professor Tassos Christofidis, to take the floor and introduce our topic for today and say a few words.
Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the University of Cyprus. Today we have an opportunity to discuss the state of migrants and refugees in Cyprus. It is the perfect occasion to exchange ideas regarding perceptions, current laws, and ways for further inclusion of this important part of our society. Allow me to extend my gratitude to the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Labour, Welfare and Social Insurance for their participation in this event. Special thanks also go to Ms. Katja Saha, the UNHCR Cyprus representative, and her efforts for social cohesion, access and inclusion of all members of our society. I am extremely happy that today two of our kids, two of our students, Mazlum Aksu and Prisca Salama Totoro, are active participants in this event. They will share their experiences, views, and hopes for the present and the future. Just this March, the University Center for Field Studies presented the findings of the survey on the perceptions of Cypriots regarding refugees and migrants, carried out on behalf of the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for the Refugees. It was an enlightening presentation because through understanding people's perceptions, we may address any misconceptions effectively, and as a society, we can take any remedial measures. No doubt, migration and refugee issues constitute the main political topic both locally and globally. What we need to understand is that above all, migrants and refugees are people, people in need of inclusion, people in need of fair treatment and understanding. Solidarity and understanding is what is needed when interacting with migrants and refugees. After all, some of us are familiar with the pain and suffering and the experience of being forced to leave our homes. The false narrative of fearing the foreigner only nourishes suspicion and hate and creates walls, imaginary and real. I strongly believe that migrants and refugees that have successfully settled into society are essential for the development of our society. What they can offer is a different, a new, and a better perspective. Their inspiration is to become productive members of the community, and it is our duty to make them feel welcome and included. Thank you very much.
The European Union has experienced in recent years the influx of high numbers of refugees, mainly from the Middle East and Africa, due to the political changes and protracted conflicts. To respond to those demands, the member states have systematically worked to introduce a common European asylum system. The overall intention is to streamline and harmonize the national asylum systems in matters such as procedural standards, reception conditions, and developing criteria for qualifying an individual as a refugee. The refugee crisis has inevitably affected Cyprus due to its geographical proximity to the area of the Middle East. According to the available statistics, in 2018, until September actually, 5,009 applicants for international protection were registered in Cyprus, while a significant increase in both arrivals from Turkey, Syria, and Lebanon has been observed. The majority of applicants for international protection in Cyprus during the last few years concern Syrian nationals due to the ongoing crisis in Syria. The number of refugees, including unaccompanied children, arriving in Cyprus have been on the rise in recent years. For example, in September 2015, the social welfare services provided material reception conditions to 86 households of applicants of international protection, while in September 2018, the social welfare services provided material reception conditions to 1,500 households of applicants of international protection.
As most of you know, in a period which is considered for the rest of Europe as a period of recession as far as refugee numbers are concerned, Cyprus is experiencing the largest refugee crisis in its history, with approximately 1,000 new applicants for international protection per month. The total number of people under asylum proceedings at present in Cyprus, and I mean proceedings at asylum service or the reviewing authority or the administrative courts, is approximately 11,000. If the influx continues in the same rate, by the end of the year, we will have to deal with more than 20,000 asylum applications pending for examination. Taking into account the population of Cyprus, the size of the island, and the fact that the Republic has not yet fully recovered from the effects of the financial crisis, it is obvious that we have reached our limits regarding the management of the migratory flows. Due to our proximity to the politically unstable area of the Middle East, and due to the refusal of Turkey and the occupied areas for any cooperation, it is very difficult to prevent or to reduce the number of arrivals. To deal with the situation, we have to direct our efforts at two main directions. The one goal is to deal with the backlog of the applications pending for decision. Dealing with the backlog, on one hand, enables people who are entitled to protection to get their rights and proceed with their lives, and on the other hand, alleviates the burden posed on the asylum system by the abusive applicants and allows the various authorities to concentrate on people that are really in need for protection and support. It is worth mentioning that more than half of the applications for international protection are submitted by nationals of safe countries or countries that are not considered to be dangerous or unstable and have very low recognition rates across Europe. Furthermore, many of these applicants have been staying in Cyprus with resident permits as students or workers or other kind of permits, and they abuse their asylum legislation in order to extend their stay. We believe that the upcoming operation of the Administrative Court for International Protection and the consequent termination of submission of new applications before the reviewing authority will also deter the filing of abusing applications.
Being a refugee in Cyprus, it feels like you went to someone's home, you knocked on the door and they opened the door, but years after you are still in the waiting room and you haven't really been asked to come in. So telling the individual story really matters, and it is crucial to give a voice to the people behind the numbers, all the children, all the adults, and the elderly, because without that face and the voice of a person, the numbers are very difficult to comprehend. There are currently 68.5 million forcibly displaced persons in the world. 40 million of them are internally displaced. 25.4 million are refugees and over 3 million are asylum seekers. It's also very important to portray the global picture, especially in Europe, where the countries feel overburdened with the current refugee flows. And I really would like to stress the fact that 85% of the world's refugees, displaced persons, are hosted in developing countries, not in Europe. Over 44,000 individuals are forced to flee every day, and only very few of them, if any, find their way to Europe or to any other developed regions. So these global figures hopefully help us to understand the local context, where Syria is the #1 of the refugee-producing countries, with over 3 million refugees mainly hosted in the neighboring countries. So against this quite dramatic backdrop, the increasing refugee flows to Cyprus seem more manageable, more understandable. But however, the significantly increased numbers of asylum seekers and refugees has put an enormous strain on Cyprus and triggered some almost xenophobic discussions in the media. It is important to note that the major obstacle for refugees' integration in any country of asylum is the unwelcoming public opinion, which nowadays seems the norm in Europe and beyond. According to the opinion poll commissioned by UNHCR in 2018 and carried out by the University of Cyprus, the general feelings of Cypriots towards refugees, migrants, and the topic of migration in general are today neutral to negative. While this still represents a significant improvement of the Cypriots' attitudes compared to a similar survey we carried out 3 years ago, there is still a very long way to go in terms of dispelling myths and enhancing awareness and understanding for refugees.
As a former refugee myself, since now me and my family have been granted the Cypriot citizenship, I find it vital to have open conversation and raise awareness about this matter, the refugee crisis, and most importantly, the situation of refugees in Cyprus and how Cyprus as a nation faces the needs of refugees and the integration process. For many years now, and especially over the past 20 years, Cyprus has received and is still receiving a number of asylum applications from refugees of different races. For many, Cyprus has been their only hope for survival because there is war, ethnic, tribal, and religious violence in their own countries. They have been forced to flee their motherland because of persecution, war, and violence, not because they choose so. I would like to mostly express my personal experience about my integration to the Cypriot society. I myself, as a young adult now, with a refugee background, consider Cyprus my home and homeland. My father, 60 years ago, with no other choice, was forced to flee with his family, his motherland Congo, for the safety of them, and if not for a better future, for any kind of a future. Now looking back, I find it the bravest thing to decide to leave everything you have and have accomplished for an unknown destination. He left everything behind, hoping for a new start, and most importantly, a safe environment for him and his family. Coming here to Cyprus, he was suddenly alone, just him and his family without any support system. To a new environment, having to adapt to a new lifestyle, new people with a different mindset, a different language, another culture, and the most challenging part, which was to be integrated in the Cypriot society. I remember neighbors who would even help me with my homework after school, and that encouraged me even more. And now, years later, as I stated earlier, I feel at home. Greek is the language I communicate the most with and feel more comfortable using. I listen to Greek music, watch Greek shows, and have adopted the culture fully since it's in my everyday life. I found a place that allowed me to dream, set goals, and accomplish them, and for that, Cyprus will always have a special place in my heart. And that's what I wish for anyone else that is in the position I was. From my position as a Cypriot with a refugee background, I want to encourage us as a community to let go of our egotism, our suspicions, stereotypes, and prejudices towards refugees, because at the end of the day, they are human. Why not be the ones who help and encourage them and remind them that even though they've lost everything, there is hope and the future could only be brighter? Why not give them the opportunity to dream and accomplish greater things? I know that is what we would want if we were in their position. I know that many people feel overwhelmed by the numbers and see people moving across borders as a global crisis. But I personally disagree that it is a crisis of numbers. The people are not the problem, but the causes that drive families and individuals to cross borders and the short-sighted and unrealistic ways that politicians respond to them are the problem. It is important to understand that migrants are still entitled to have all their human rights protected and respected, regardless of the status they have in their country they move to. Our government must protect all migrants from racist and xenophobic violence, exploitation, and forced labor. We have to make sure that refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants are safe and are not tortured, discriminated against, or left living in poverty. I believe that it's important to remember that refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers are only temporary terms. They do not reflect the whole identity of women, children, and men who have left their homes behind to start a new life in a new country. They are more than that, and their identities are made up of so many more things. And as the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said, their story is one of resilience, perseverance, and courage. Ours must be of solidarity, compassion, and action.
Βρίσκομαι σήμερα ανάμεσα σας ως αιτητής ασύλου που είμαι για να καταθέσω ενώπιον σας την προσωπική μου μαρτυρία. Ονομάζομαι Mazlum Aksu και κατάγομαι από το Κουρδιστάν. Η οικογένεια μου κατέφυγε στην Κύπρο πριν από 12 χρόνια περίπου, εξαιτίας πολεμικών συγκρούσεων με τους Τούρκους, με απότερο σκοπό τη σωτηρία μας. Ήμασταν πολυμελής οικογένεια, δηλαδή 2 ενήλικες και 5 παιδιά. Η μικρότερη μου αδερφή γεννήθηκε στην Κύπρο και έτσι η οικογένεια μου αυξήθηκε κατά 1 μέλος. Αρχικά οι τοπικές αρχές μας δέχτηκαν ως αιτητές ασύλου και μας έδιδαν το καθιερωμένο επίδομα για να επιβιώσουμε. Στην πορεία όμως, εξαιτίας του κενού που οφείλεται στην εσφαλμένη εφαρμογή του δικαίου της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, μας απέκοψαν κάθε βοήθεια για 6 χρόνια περίπου. Στη συνέχεια, σύμφωνα με την υφιστάμενη νομοθεσία, οι αιτούντες άσυλου, των οποίων οι υποθέσεις εκκρεμούν στο Ανώτατο Δικαστήριο, τελούν συνήθως υποκράτηση, με σκοπό την απέλαση, με αποτέλεσμα ο πατέρας μου να είχε την ίδια μοίρα. Η απέλαση του έγινε βία ενώπιον της οικογένειάς του. Εμείς κατορθώσαμε να μείνουμε εξαιτίας του γεγονότος ότι εγώ κατόρθωσα να διαφύγω και να κρυφτώ για εβδομάδες. Έτσι, εξαιτίας αυτού του τολμήματος, η μητέρα μου και τα αδέρφια μου παρεμείναν στην Κύπρο, στηριζόμενοι στη φιλανθρωπία του κόσμου, της Εκκλησίας και του σχολείου που φοιτούσαμε για να ζήσουμε. Εδώ, σε αυτό το σημείο, θα ήθελα να τονίσω ότι η απέλαση ενός αιτούντος ασύλου, πριν ληφθεί τελική απόφαση για το αίτημά του, είναι αντίθετη προς τη διεθνή και κοινοτική νομοθεσία, γι' αυτό και η απέλαση του πατέρα μου ήταν παράνομη. Έτσι, κινήθηκαμε νομικά μέσω του Ανωτάτου Δικαστηρίου καθώς και του Ευρωπαϊκού και κερδίσαμε τη δίκη με αποτέλεσμα σήμερα ο πατέρας μου να βρίσκεται κοντά μας μετά από 4 χρόνια περίπου απουσίας του. Η υπόθεσή μας για αναγνώριση της οικογένειας μου ως πολιτικοί πρόσφυγες εξακολουθεί να κρεμεί ενώπιον της Αναθεωρητικής Αρχής Προσφύγων, εδώ και 2 χρόνια περίπου μετά από τα αποτελέσματα του δικαστηρίου. Επιπρόσθετα, ένα άλλο πρόβλημα που αντιμετωπίζουμε είναι και το πρόβλημα της εργασίας. Δεν φτάνει που δεν έχουμε από τις αρμόδιες υπηρεσίες κάποια οικονομική βοήθεια, δεν μας επιτρέπεται να εργαστούμε σε όλα τα επαγγέλματα παρά μόνο σε συγκεκριμένα και αυτό δυσκολεύει την επιβίωσή μας. Προσωπικά θα ήθελα να εργαστώ για να καλύψω μερικά έξοδα των σπουδών μου, αλλά δεν μπορώ να εργαστώ γιατί ακόμη είμαι αιτητής ασύλου μετά από τόσα χρόνια παραμονής μου στην Κύπρο. Το ίδιο πρόβλημα αντιμετωπίζει και η υπόλοιπη οικογένειά μου, γεγονός που δυσχεραίνει την επιβίωσή μας. Έτσι, αναγκαζόμαστε και πάλι να προσμένουμε στα φιλάνθρωπα σήματα των συνανθρώπων μας για να ζήσουμε. Χρέος λοιπόν όλων των μεταναστών, πολιτικών προσφύγων και τους κράτους υποδοχής, όπως είναι η Κύπρος, να αγωνιστούμε για καλύτερες συνθήκες διαβίωσης μόνο, αλλά και για την πρόοδο της χώρας υποδοχής μας. Αυτό θα γίνει εφικτό εάν εξυγχρονιστεί το νομοθετικό σύστημα, το οποίο, όπως έχει αποδειχθεί σε πολλές περιπτώσεις, ότι χωλαίνει. Ευχαριστώ που μου δόθηκε η ευκαιρία ως φοιτητής του Πανεπιστημίου Κύπρου να εκφράσω τις απόψεις μου για το πολυσυζητημένο αυτό πρόβλημα των αιτητών ασύλου και πολιτικών προσφύγων. Και προσδοκώ στη βοήθεια σας για την επίλυση των προβλημάτων που αντιμετωπίζουν οι αιτητές ασύλου και οι πρόσφυγες της Κύπρου, μιας που το νησί σας ζει ακόμα τις συνέπειες της προσφυγιάς του 1974.
Well, I would like to thank you all for being here. It was a very good opportunity for us to have a discussion on a very important issue. I would like to thank Ms. Katja Saha for collaborating with me on this issue, and I think this is one of many opportunities that we'll be having in discussing these issues, and I hope that the opinions expressed will be taken seriously by the authorities. I'm sure they will do their best, and if anything is needed on behalf of the university, we'll be here. Thank you very much.